Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate that. If you're a regular viewer, well, the background looks a little different. No, it is not a cabin. It is an Airbnb and it is in the mountains. And by the time my stay here is done, I might look more like Mrs. Grizzly Adams than I do now, but we'll just have to see what happens because we'll just see my hair, this dry air, high elevation. My hair is like, so it's going to be interesting to see the evolution of how I look on these videos. So let's get started. Today, you guys have been so awesome as to give me your political questions that you want my spirit guides to answer. And yes, they are here. Drum roll. The entire political spirit guide team is here. They are not on strike like the writers and the actors because, well, I guess they get paid well to do this job. I'm not sure, but they are here with me, including Mr. Edward R. Murrow and some new beings, let's just say, that have decided to show up that are very supportive, very supportive beings that are here also to join the party. They kind of feel like this is a party for some reason. I guess it is a party. I don't know. They were like, look at all these, ET spirit beings. Let's go to her house. She's having a party. We'll see what happens, right? Let's get started. Summer Still says, your question is Rupert Murdoch is supporting Virginia Republican Governor Youngkin for president. Will he run in 2024 or will he run or win in 28? What I think is important about your question also that you don't mention is the foregone conclusion that your question sort of states. He's not supporting Trump. He's not supporting DeSantis. This is a big deal, you guys. Rupert Murdoch, it really in many ways holds the keys to the kingdom because he is the Fox News owner. So whoever he decides to put on Fox News has a pretty good chance at being the Republican nominee, right? And it's not Trump and it's not DeSantis. So if that doesn't give you hope for the future, I don't know what does. Now, I don't know much about Youngkin. I'm going to go into his energy right now and say that the message I got was he's not good. He's not good enough, or he's not good. He's not the way forward. So the guides are saying he is not the way forward. Now, when I ask, is he going to run in 24? He's considering it right now. He's actually being courted. There are moneyed interests such as Murdoch. Murdoch would represent media interest in what they're telling me, but there's also moneyed interest. We might think of it as dark money that are courting him. So he has this sense of this inflated ego of like, wow, everybody really wants me. Oh, look at me, he's actually saying things like, well, how much money are we talking here? He's actually asking what the war chest would be. I think for him, he seems to be a person who is savvy and he doesn't want to throw his hat in the ring in 24 unless he really has a shot at it. And whereas I don't see him being a fan of Trump or a fan of DeSantis, he respects Crazy Town when he sees Crazy Town and he's like, that's Crazy Town. I'm not going to Crazy Town, right? He doesn't want to jump in the middle of these two brawling, especially Trump can be very pugnacious. He can be very passive aggressive on attack mode sometimes, right? So Youngkin is like, let's just see how this plays out. And if Youngkin is it's not his, I take that back. It is his life's dream to be president. However, it's not his life's dream to be president over the country as it is right now. He would prefer that Biden, to be honest, if we're being honest, like I don't know that he would ever say this to many people, but in his energy, he would rather Biden win and get the country all sorted out for 4 more years, and then him run as a moderate Republican and sweep it in 28. That's what he's thinking. I think that things would have to change significantly for him to run in 24. They may wear him down. They may, they may just say, look, you're our only hope. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. He's also going to be looking at his poll numbers. They're sort of running some preliminary focus groups. They're doing the work. They're doing the work to see if he could make it. He's not a person who puts his neck out unnecessarily. If he's going to go for a run, if he's going to run for president, he's going to have a war chest. He's going to have support, and he's going to have to make sure that these very irritating energies of Trump and DeSantis are somehow off of the stage. He's not going to get on the stage with them. It would sully his reputation. So that's what I'm getting, Summer. That's a great question. Thank you so much. Now, this next question, you guys, this is a serious thing. I'm going to really try. Well, if you're new here, I'm channeling these messages, and maybe you just figured that out. I don't know. But the way I do it is it's 60% roughly my spirit guides, 40% Susan. They give me thoughts, ideas, pictures, feelings, all of that in a block. And then I turn it into words, and I make it more human-like rather than just channeling, which you can go to my main channels page and find the playlist, and you can see me channel. I can channel as well. This seems to be more palatable for humans, is what my guides say. Now, the reason I had to preface this next thing with that is because this next thing is pretty serious, and it gets me. Sometimes I switch into third person, but it's because sometimes I'm not me. And believe it or not, I don't have a diagnosis. Okay, it gets Susan kind of frazzled. So I'm going to talk about it kind of quickly. I'm going to give you the bare minimum because it's important, because the reason I do these videos is forewarned, is forearmed, is to help you, right? Because what I'm going to talk about now is this movie, The Sound of Freedom. Maybe you've heard about it. Maybe you haven't. You're about to, because apparently AMC, the theater chain, is going to play this movie. So what is The Sound of Freedom? The Sound of Freedom is written by a person who has connections to QAnon. It's Save the Children. It basically is telling people that there's this underground of child trafficking, of predators and pedophiles and all of that. It's very much QAnon propaganda. The movie is propaganda. I don't care what anybody says. It's propaganda, and really good propaganda will make you believe it. It's meant to flip you. This is a movie that's the beginning of the indoctrination. This is the first step. This is the first step. Now, look, you guys. Yes, there's a lot of pedophilia. There's a lot of child exploitation. And we're not even just talking about what they're doing in freaking Huckabee land in Arkansas with making children work, right? I really am talking about this, but honestly, the majority of this is by white men. I mean, sad to say, but this is what they do. They project it onto everybody else to cover for themselves. So I'm worried about this because this movie is so slick and so mesmerizing. It's really and truly some sort of, I don't know the word, they just keep saying this, mesmerizing. And in your families, I promise you, this is how widespread this is going to be. You're going to have friends, you're going to have coworkers, you're going to, maybe your kids, your parents, your family members, your neighbors. A good portion of people are going to see this movie, and a good portion of people are going to come out, with their eyes kind of going like this, and they're going to have been red pilled, and red pilled, that's what that means. Red pilled means drinking the Kool-Aid. And y'all, this is the last thing we need, right? This is the last thing we need right now, is more of this propaganda to make people believe this stuff. And the next step up from this movie is that, according to the people that made this movie, Democrats are taking blood out of children and doing something. I mean, this is really, people really believe this. So then once you get people to believe that Democrats are doing this, then they, this kind of craziness kind of gets activated. And then 2 steps more, they become radicalized. Once they're radicalized, they believe that they have to do something. This is from the beginnings of this was Pizzagate. Do you remember Pizzagate? The DC, remember Hillary Clinton, the DC area pizzeria that had the basement that kept the kids down there shackled. And remember, the guy shows up with the gun and he demands to see the basement, and there's no basement. There's no basement. But this man was literally radicalized to believe that he has to go save these kids, right? So we've gone, what has happened with this Sound of Freedom is that we've gone from the very marginalized, off-center, tucked away corners of the internet to mainstream America with AMC theaters. I don't like it. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel sad because it makes our job harder. So everything else I'm going to read on today, a lot of you guys have states questions and things like that. If you guys haven't watched a lot of my videos, I will tell you, here's the end game. I'll just show you the end game right now. The end game is this. And this is what my spirit guide's been saying for 6 or 8 months. So when they tell me something week after week, month after month, that means the energy is pretty stable. It can change, but it would be hard for it to change. Okay. So I'm betting the farm on this. Personally, I'm betting the farm on this. So here's the thing. In a nutshell, Trump is going down. DeSantis is going down. Many Congress people are going down. Could be 5, could be 10. I mean, maybe 15. I don't think so, but I think 5 to 10. When I say going down, some of them will step down between now and say April of next year. All of them will be indicted. Indicted means, hey, we're indicting you. We want to take you to court because we think you've committed a crime, but we're going to let the jury decide that because you're innocent until proven guilty. So once these people are indicted, of course, they're Republicans. So a lot of them are not going to step down because they just don't, there's no shame anywhere in their game, but some of them will. So immediately you'll have maybe 3 or 4 openings in the House. Now, just the fact that the indictments are going to fly. And by this time, by April of next year, Trump will have already been convicted, in my opinion. I know. So this is why this is all important, okay? As all of this starts, the wheels come off the bus, basically. The wheels are going to come off the bus. Now, what that means is the House, the states that want to, will have special elections. It costs money to have a special election. Some states might say, we're not going to have a special election. It's up to them. They may leave that space open. But if they have a special election, then of course a Democrat can run. Now, I feel like we're going to have a net gain of about 2 to 3 Democrats in this first phase of the charges and indictments and things. Okay. What does that do? That brings the House to kind of like +1 Democrat, maybe, +2 Democrats, maybe. Not enough to get anything done, but that in addition to the fact that Republicans got indictments like party favors is going to change the energy. It's going to change the energy. And the Republicans that didn't get indictments, that aren't sure if they are still going to get an indictment, are going to sit up, act right, and do the right thing. So I see more bipartisanship eventually, like by the summer, not in the beginning, because in April, all hell's breaking loose. In the summer, I see more bipartisanship. I see Democrats winning the House and the Senate and the presidency in the fall. I see big legislation coming down, federal legislation. I see another run at abortion rights. I see another run at anti-discriminatory. You name it. The Democrats will have their time in the sun to make hay. And they're going to. We're going to fix a lot in these gun laws. We're going to fix a lot of things at the federal level, redistricting, a lot of things. We're going to fix a lot of the crazy things the states are doing at the federal level. Now, here's the problem with the Sound of Freedom. We can't fix everything. We are a republic in the sense that the states have their own rights and laws and constitutions. We're a democracy, how we run the whole thing, right? So these states still have their own, they're going to have a lot of control. As a matter of fact, the Republicans are pro-states' rights, theoretically, until they take them away themselves. And the Democrats are more federal rights. That's kind of a big difference in the two parties, right? So the Sound of Freedom, the problem and the thing that just wears me down is like, my God, we didn't need this, is it makes the crazies crazier in the states, right? So even though, yes, we're going to fix a lot of these problems in the federal level, and that's going to help a lot, there's going to be a little bit more crazy making in the states, because this Sound of Freedom is going to just, it's going to convert some Democrats to Republicans. It's going to convert some independents to Republicans, all because of this save the children message. Who can't get behind save the children? So you're likely in your own family are going to be presented. You're going to just walk into the kitchen and there's going to be one of your relatives with their eyes going, and they're going to start telling you about the Sound of Freedom. And you've been forewarned. You can't talk to them. They've been red pilled. They've been red pilled. Now, how do we get over it? Well, the guides are saying it has to run its course. So as these people, okay, so right, okay. So the guides are saying that there is a firewall, if you will, between the people that have been red pilled and are for save the children or the Sound of Freedom, and the Magus. Okay, they are completely two different tribes of crazy. Now there are they do mix, but there are two different distinct energies here. As this energy plays out towards September, November election of next year, it seems like this Sound of Freedom just teeters out. Like, so what has to happen, for the guides are saying, for a cult is you have to keep feeding them, right? Now, I talked about this in the video, I think, that we did about the cocaine video, I think. The cocaine video, the cocaine found in the White House, maybe it's a nothing taco, but it's red meat it's fodder, it's food for the Magus. That's all they care about. It doesn't have to go anywhere. It's not meant to go anywhere. It's meant to feed the Magus, because if you keep feeding the Magus fear and anger, they open their wallet and they give you money. Okay. So if no one is feeding the Sound of Freedom, if nobody is feeding this Save the Children, if it's not an active op, then it'll just die out. So that's what the guides are saying. So perhaps this isn't, I mean, it's going to cause trouble for us, for me, for you, for us, also for Biden, but it's not going to perhaps be the trouble that Susan thinks it is. So the guides would say this is going to run its course, but it is good for you to know about, because if somebody in your orbit comes at you with this stuff, you're just going to have to decide how you deal with that. But it would be hard for you to break through their mesmerizing. Okay. So that's the Sound of Music, Sound of Freedom, Sound of Music, Sound of Freedom. We had a couple of questions about that. You can look into it. Please look into it. Look into Jim Caviezel, QAnon, Sound of Freedom. You can look into it. Absolutely. Do your own research as always. Okay, let's move on. Fly Girl 108 says, will DeSantis stay Florida governor to the end of his term? Okay. To the end of his term, really? All right. Well, I heard yes, but then I heard no, which means that it's not decided. The energy isn't decided yet. I don't see him being president. I did see him being investigated, and I did see him walking and being tripped and falling down. Somebody trips him. Maybe that's some sort of character assassination. I mean, I don't know how else you can. His character is pretty. Already, he assassinates himself. I mean, the photos and the videos you see of his facial expressions are. Anyway, and the fact that Florida's just really struggling right now. They Farmers Insurance, I believe it is, pulled out all their not auto everything, just walked away from Florida. Florida's in big trouble right now, in many ways. So he's pretty embedded into his position. I can't guarantee that he's going to be there. I think his term is still a few more years, right? I don't know, dear. I know he's not going to be president. I know that he's going to. The problem is he's a little bit like McConnell. How many things should have already brought McConnell down, kicked him out? How many things? It's like they don't care if they're caught lying. They don't care if they're caught with their hand in a cookie jar. They don't care if they're caught with an inappropriate relationship. They don't care. None of them care, right? They just wear it like a badge of honor and keep on going. So he's going to be kind of hard to remove. Also, right, this is what they were saying earlier. Have you guys ever had this in your life? I'm sure you have, as we all have, where you're supposed to learn this lesson and you sort of not learning it, or you're avoiding it, or whatever is happening. And what happens is the lesson starts building up, like, it just gets like to where it's like smack right in the face, like it's unavoidable, right? So if you avoid a lesson, it just eventually will just face plant you. Okay. Unfortunately, this is what I see for Florida. They've been avoiding these lessons, and I'm not trying to, I'm from Texas. So, I think I can, I love the state of Florida. I don't love what the government has done to Florida and its people. I don't believe that Floridians are red. I don't believe that. I think that it's been gerrymandered like many states, and it's been sold a bill of goods, right, that these people have not delivered on. So I feel like Florida is going to have to learn its lesson, and it could be another couple of storms. It could be more of insurances leaving. It could be an ugly lesson. My heart goes out to you, Florida. I don't think you deserve this, but this is what's coming. If I were you, if I was living in Florida, I would be very cautious. I would not be, personally, if I was living in Florida, I wouldn't be making big purchases. I would be saving money. I would be doing everything I could to create my own emergency bank account, even if that's $500 or $100 or $5,000, whatever it is, because I feel like in the next 5 years, you may need that money. You may need that money to move out of Florida, or you may need that money to self-insure. I'm not sure. I would just say the guides are saying the living is not free and easy in Florida anymore. You really need to take this into your own hands. Like, you cannot expect the government to help you. It's not going to be there for you. The insurance agencies are not going to be there for you. I think you guys probably already know that, having been somebody that lived on the Gulf Coast for many, many, many years. FEMA, sad to say, but, insurance doesn't do jack diddly. You guys know this. So it's time to take it seriously and start preparing to help yourself. Florida is, the guides are saying Florida is like the Wild West. We don't know what's going to happen. It's not very well supported right now. Okay. And unfortunately, I can't promise. I know that DeSantis is going to be investigated. Again, he could be indicted and not step down. This is where we are right now. Okay. I wish I could give you better news, but what I try to do is give you the real deal, and then also try to help you mitigate that. Right. So thank you for your question. Laura Petro 5054. A lot of Republicans have left Fox News for Newsmax and OWN. Will these news stations be looking at lawsuits as well? You know, what's interesting about your question too, is that I just saw, I think it's one of the Jan 6ers is suing Fox News because he says Fox News created Jan 6, had a hand in it, that they're accountable. They should be held accountable. I mean, that's awesome, right? Everybody's coming at Fox News from all these different angles. It's not just the liberals. This is what we see is Fox News being torn apart. I see it being literal little pieces of Fox News. You know, maybe there's the sports section, maybe there's the HGTV version, maybe there's the celebrity version, but I don't see Fox News being able to do what they've been doing. They tried to get rid of Tucker Carlson. They got rid of him, trying to remedy their reputation and to sort of hold at bay, you know, the sharks that were coming to eat them, or the leopard that's going to eat their face. But here we have the Jan 6ers coming after them. So now your question is, will people go after Newsmax and OWN? Yes, I do think so, because I think that people are being empowered, as we see with this Jan 6 guy. People are being empowered to say, you can't lie to us, right? If you lie to me, I'm going to hold you accountable for that lie, because I believed you to be a news source. I mean, in this case, Newsmax is their name, right? So they should be held to some level of newsworthiness, right? So yes, I do think these stations are going to have more lawsuits. And I also think that, you know, people like Hunter Biden and various other people are going to start suing these companies and saying, this is libel. We'll just let we'll let a jury decide, right? So yeah, I think there's going to be increasing pressure on these sources to get it right and to not be libelous. That's the problem with the sound of freedom. It slithers through those obstacles. It's like a fairy tale. In this fairy tale, this is what happens, right? It's like an allegory. And in that way, it's hard. You can't say that it's libel, but it's told in that story kind of way that and it's got this sing-song kind of mesmerizing energy around it. That, my friends, is a whole different ball game. Okay, so let's see here. And actually, the guides are saying right now, not to beleaguer this, but it's a big deal. The guides are saying it might not be a bad idea, where possible, to preempt. So if you have somebody in your family that tends to kind of latch on to conspiracy theories a little bit more than they should, you might preempt and actually tell them your opinion about it and why you think that it's not real. Depending on who you're talking to and what kind of person you are, you might bring receipts, you might bring data. But the guides are saying some of you might try to preempt it, because once they've got it, once they've taken the bait, drank the Kool-Aid, they're gone. Okay. For some period of time. And some of them won't come back. That's the Magus. Some of them won't come back. Okay, let's move on. Yoga by Jane says, who removed the panic buttons from Representative Ayanna Pressley's office before the Jan 6 insurrection, and why? I don't think I've really read on this much. the message that I'm getting right now is that it was a warning. It was an intimidation factor. They knew that she wasn't likely to be in there. It wasn't meant. It's linked to the DC BOM/BSs, and sometimes I have to be careful with what I talk about, right? It's linked. It's linked to that. Those BOM/BSs were not meant to be activated. They were meant to scare. They were meant to intimidate. You have this sort of mob mentality of intimidation, right? We're going to leave the horse head or whatever it is on your steps, or, whatever it is, right? We're going to leave something to let you know we know where you live. We know where your office is. And we were in your office, and we left you a little gift. It's back to that same thing of counting coup. The guides want to talk about all the time, where you run up to your enemy and you touch them, but you don't get killed, and you live to tell the tale to your buddies, right? In this way, they were in her office and they removed her. What does that tell you? They knew that there was a button. They knew where to find the button. They knew where to find the office. These offices are not marked. It's not like there's a big plaque. I mean, for this very reason, apparently it's a labyrinth place anyway. And you have to just know which of all these unmarked doors is your office. So this was a big intimidation factor. And it was a power play. The guides are saying, we have the power here. Back off, lady, if you know what's good for you. That was the message that was intended to be given. I don't think it's worked. I don't really follow her. I mean, I follow her, but I don't know that much about her. But I don't think she's backed off at all. I don't think any of the squad, isn't she in the squad with AOC? I'm not sure. So that's what I would say. It's linked with the bomber. I said the word anyway. And it's, for entertainment purposes only. I don't know if I said this last time when I was just recently talking about this, but I do see a link with Flynn. I do see a link, whether that's a direct link or an indirect link. There's a link there. And Stone. And maybe Jordan, for entertainment purposes only. And those people are all on Jack Smith's, holiday shopping list. Believe me, he's not going to skip their names. He's investigating them. Okay, so let's move on. A chorister says, do you think the jury will return a verdict on the Mar-a-Lago case in time that he cannot be included in the primary? Yes. Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Okay. I don't know. The guides are really confused by that, or they're sending me like 500 different messages all at once. Okay. That's too many messages. Okay. Hold on. I don't know what that was, a blizzard of information. Okay. Let me see if I can break this down to something smaller. Okay. So first of all, you're making the assumption that there's a jury and there's a court case and all those things. So we have to start at the beginning. The guides are extremely pedantic or just anyway. So, okay. Your question really is, will Trump be included in the primary? Let's just break it down to that so that I don't have to get like 7,000 messages. Will Trump be included in? No, he's not going to be included in the primary. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, when in your life or from your age perspective that you are right now, look back on your life and think about the time that from your perspective now, you can't believe that happened. I can't believe XYZ. Looking back on it now, I can't believe that happened. What a crazy thing to happen, right? Now, that same energy is how you and I are going to be saying to each other in August of next year, in September or November of next year. Wow, we never saw this happening. Nobody had this on their bingo card, right? So the things that are about to happen between now and say June, July, August. I mean, and really a hot button is early 2023. So I could tell you this stuff is going to happen, but it sounds so crazy, right? Sounds so far-fetched, but it's going to happen. He's not going to be running. He's not going to be running anywhere. He's hobbled. He's shackled. He's restrained, constrained. He's not well. On top of all of that, he's not well. So yeah, he's not going to. And I know a lot of people in the news and even in the left wing or the liberal or whatever, they're like freaking out right now saying he's going to be able to run and just all these crazy things. It's like, I'm not the only one saying this, you guys. All of us psychics that don't watch each other, because there's a whole lot of us, are saying the same thing. So if we were all saying different things, I would be more concerned, but we're all getting the same energy. Things can change between now and then. I don't think they will. I've never seen Trump winning. I've always seen Biden winning. So I'm not worried about it. I'm more worried. I mean, if I had to share this, the Susan part of this collaboration is more worried about the average American falling into more radicalization, more cult. That's the last thing we need. So that's really what I'm more concerned about, honestly. And the guides are not even that concerned about that. So go with them. Okay. Thank you for your question. Next question is Michelle Johnson. How long will the SAG-MGA, this is the Writers, Screen Actors Guild and the Writer Guild something, I don't know, strike go? Fran Drescher, who's the SAG press, gave a barn-burning, pro-union, anti-corporate greed speech that everyone should watch regardless of how you feel about the movie industry. Right. Fran Drescher, look that up on, look up Fran Drescher's speech. It is a barn burner, and it's exactly what we need. And what I see happening in this scenario, and which is really happening right now in real time, is the actors are coming together to support the writers. And that's it. Game over. The tide is tilted. Unfortunately, well, okay. I do see contract negotiations, like real ones, like substantive ones. I do see a contract being proffered, meaning here's our contract. I do see an agreement. I would just say to you guys that unfortunately, the movie studios are not done. I don't know why. It's like they've lost their way. Like they don't understand it. What it is AI. They really feel like AI is going to replace all these, artificial intelligence is going to replace all these people. One of the things that they wanted them to agree to is if I'm an extra in a film, they wanted me as the extra to sign release saying you can scan me in this movie role, and then you can use my likeness in any movie in the future. Therefore, not having to hire me as an extra, you can just use my automated version of me in the background of other movies. And basically, you want me to sign a contract to replace myself forever with no extra money, with no nothing, just because why would I do that? Right? So I really feel like these movie moguls, the guides want to call them, they're playing with fire because AI works both ways. These actors could just as easily crowdfund. I just see this a level playing field is what I'm trying to say. Actors are going to be able to create sort of these home movies, for lack of a better word, because they're not really home movies, but these independent movies that they're going to be competitors. This is not good. This is a bad move. This was greed gone amok, and they're going to pay for it. They're truly going to pay for it. You're going to see, again, like Fox News breaking apart. You're going to see some of these big movie conglomerates breaking apart. This was not a smart move on their behalf. I think that the actors standing with the writers was the right thing to do. And I think that the lesson we seem to be learning here on Earth at this time in our physical incarnation here is that the group is more important than the solo entity, and humans are more important than money. And I don't know why, but they're showing me, I don't know if there's a baseball strike or if there's going to be a baseball strike, but they're showing me other athletics and athletic people striking. Again, there's this sense of greed, of just unrestrained greed, and a leveling, a balancing of that going forward. Thank you for your question. And so I do see a contract. My point is that this isn't the end, unfortunately. These studios are going to continue pushing and pushing and pushing for more capitulations from writers. And they're going to put actors in bad position. It's just not good. It's not a good look, and it's not good for their bottom line. But they're letting greed be their North Star, unfortunately. Whew. Okay, one or two more questions, and then we'll do a part two. Beth Mullen says, can we tell you guys what's in store for Elizabeth Warren? She's getting up there in years, but she would make a great president. I feel like Elizabeth Warren is the Energizer Bunny. I just don't see her slowing down. I see her being, she's got a feisty energy about her. She feels very confident in the role she's playing. She feels like she's doing the good work, that she's exposing things that need to be exposed. She feels like she's representing her constituents very well. She feels like she's representing the United States very well. She's got aspirations, but I don't see them being for president. I see them that she seems to be having some aspirations towards foreign relations. And I don't know if she's on a committee, a foreign relations committee, but she sees some, what I'm seeing is that she's very much about exposing waste, governmental waste, government spending waste or fraud. And I feel like she wants to get involved, and maybe she's already doing this, I don't know, but this is what I'm getting from the spirit guides. If she's not already involved, she wants to get involved in military spending. She feels there's a great deal of waste in that, and she feels strongly that we should spend for the military, but she feels like it's being grifted, and it's not accountable. There's no accountability here. So in this way, she might angle towards a foreign relations or some sort of committee post in that way. But I don't see her being tired. I don't see her slowing down. I don't really see her for president. Never say never, because we are about to go through some really big changes, and changes are unsettling, right? It's like riding a bronking bull. Sometimes you get bucked off, right? And if there's a position open, she may take a position in the government, and that may, meaning in a cabinet position, and that may in some way open some doors for her that have not been open. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right now, this is not on her radar. But I think when we rejigger everything, she may end up in a cabinet position. But I really feel like she likes what she's doing. So we'll see what she does. Thank you for your question. Let's do one more question. And that is from Roxanne M. And the question is the geoengineering seeding clouds operation around the world, known as chemtrails, that the problem with floods and droughts is the chemtrails. Okay, so first of all, the guides, we have to start at the very beginning. They're just not going to let us make a bunch of assumptions. So the first thing is that when I ask the guides, are chemtrails real, and they say, yes, we are manipulating the environment. We are manipulating clouds. We're seeding clouds. We've been seeding clouds. This is not news, they say. We have seeded clouds. This is scientifically been researched or published. Now, the question, I think, is this seeding of the clouds causing problems with floods and droughts? Wow. Okay. So the guide said, yeah, for entertainment purposes only. Hoy vey. Right. Okay. Well, according to the guides, I don't think this is perfected yet. Okay. I don't think this is perfected yet, but according to the guides, there are scientists, corporations that are specifically focusing on how to create rain in certain areas. Like literally, almost like if you took a laser and you drew a laser line, that kind of accuracy. And what the guides often tell me is that man thinks they're smarter than nature. We think our science is smarter than nature. We think we can control Mother Nature. We think we can control her floods, control her earthquakes, control her hurricanes, her snowstorms. We can't. We are not in control of nature. End of story. We cannot. We can adapt to nature's whatever it is that nature is doing. Extremes, we cannot control it. So when you might say, well, then, Susan, if they're making a square box of 500 square miles and making it rain, or even 50 square miles and making it rain, then that's controlling nature. But it's really not, because even though they may be able to do that, that rain cloud was going to perhaps rain over a different area. And in this way, it does create drought. In this way, now you're not controlling Mother Nature, but you're changing Mother Nature. So you're not controlling it, but you are changing it. And yes, in this way, according to the spirit guides, these operations, these geoengineering operations, are creating droughts in some areas. Also, they don't know what they're doing particularly. So sometimes they load up. This is the word they're using. They load up, and something about ions. They load up a cloud or an atmosphere, and then that atmosphere acts in a way that they didn't compute for. And then that atmosphere collides with another atmosphere that may be loaded up. And then this area gets 3 times the rain that it would have gotten. It's all about man playing God, if you want to use that word, or man playing creator, or man playing Mother Nature. It's not doable. It's not doable, but they're doing it. So yes, the answer is yes to your question. I would also just add, because this is a little conspiracy theory-ish, is that living in Texas where I live, I have a 180-degree view of the sky. I mean, I can see the sky over here and I can see the sky over there. It's a whole sky. And I personally have seen these planes literally fill the sky up. I've seen it. I was a photographer. Sky's important to me. I would much rather photograph a blue sky than a cloudy sky. Cloudy sky is not good. Doesn't make me the same money on the photos, right? So I would see this in the morning. I would see them literally cloud the sky with my own eyes. I believe it. Now, what I think that they're doing a lot of times, frankly, is diminishing the sun, diminishing the ozone, or diminishing the impact of the sun on us. It's actually trying to protect us from the sun. And I can ask the guides right now if that's true. They said partly. That's partly true. I've got, where am I wrong? Science. They're talking about science. They're talking about, it is man-made. They're saying, yes, these are man-made. things, but there's many reasons and many uses why they do them. And you know what, one that was really interesting that just came to me, which I didn't know, is that sometimes they use this to keep spy satellites from seeing what's happening at NASA. Because at one point I lived near NASA. In, Houston, outside of Houston. So sometimes this is actually cover for military operations, or there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why they use that particular thing where they cover the sky with clouds. So that's something new I didn't know. Okay, I'm going to end this here. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. Let me know in the comments if you have questions or you have comments. I love to read your comments. Please leave me a comment. I'm pretty active in the comments. So many times I will answer you back, and sometimes the guides will answer you back. Take really good care of yourself. Everything is going to be fine. We're truly, again, everything is going to be fine. I see us getting through this to the other side, and it's going to be, it's a hell of a ride between now and there. I'm not going to lie. It's a bumpy ride. It's a bumpy landing, but we're going to be okay. So look out for part 2, and I'll see you soon. For entertainment purposes only.